Hi, Russ here from UFO Paranormal TV and Flying Saucer Television. And tonight, my guest is Debbie Perkins. And basically, met Debbie on Facebook, and fantastic reading about her being a UFO investigator, and it's unbelievable. Sort of like the best thing is let's get straight and chat to you. Hi there, Debbie.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, well, I was reading, and sort of like, and you know, technical problems at the moment. I won't go into it. So let's see. How did you get in to being a? I mean, she's quite a fantastic bio, which I've gone and just. I don't know how I've done this. I've just lost the bio on my other
That's okay.
computer.
That's all right. I know it. I know it pretty good. Um,
Right. So
so how did I
it,
get interested in UFO, even in studies of UFO?
that's right.
Originally, I saw one as a youth, and what I saw was the three three lights in a diamond shape. See, so mine was diamond. A lot of people talk about UFOs being round and all these different styles, sizes, and shapes and whatnot. What I saw would have been pretty big, hovering over the ground on a garden area, in a big garden. And it was where they grew the corn. So that'll tell you how, large that field would have been. And I thought it was a helicopter, and it I turned away, but then I thought helicopters make lots of sound and blow wind,
Yeah.
and wind blows everywhere, but they're mostly very loud, and it would have woke up the whole house. Everybody would have been awake if the helicopter was landing in the garden. It would have been an abstract thing to be there, especially at that in that location. Um, and then all of a sudden I looked away and then I looked back and it was gone. And I didn't hear it take off. I didn't see it leave. It just was like in the snap of a second gone. And so, in order to not be put in a P6 ward with white walls, I sort of told a few people, but not too many. I didn't want people to think that I'd lost my marbles because, things are taboo when you're growing up in the 70s and 80s, and
Yeah.
and everything was all about, stigmas, and the last thing you wanted to do was be put in a home for children there, so
Yeah.
I kind of kept things to myself a little bit, except for a few people I told. But I never found people that believed me until probably 6 or 7 years ago, although I've always watched the skies. So like if I saw something moving in the sky, I want to know, is that a plane? Is that a planet? Is that a falling star? Is that a UFO? What is that I'm looking at? Or is something following a plane? So I would watch the skies anyway. But of course, we all love to look up at the stars. But when
Yes.
you see something that you've never seen before, you know, that sort of attracted my attention. So there's the beginning of how I became interested.
Right. So so what county would this have been in? Where would you have been? What state
Your
would you have been in?
Maine, excuse me, the most northeast state in America, which is Maine. We border Canada and New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So we're
Right.
talking, I'm in colonial area. um,
Right.
so where people from England and France and Spain and the Vikings all came down through
Right.
The New England areas,
Yeah.
which is really interesting because I do live in a 220-year-old house. So I get the best of the colonial era as
Right.
well. You know what I mean? So, because I love all that stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
So, right. So, and how old would you say you was when that happened? Did you say
I think about 12, or I think I was 12.
about
It was
12?
11 to 12 because it was just before, I knew it was before my 13th birthday because
Right.
it
So
was
on.
not harmful and I didn't feel anything negative, like
No.
energetic wise or telepathically. All I felt
Yeah.
was I had to look out the window. I never, and it was not something that I would do at night because I was a normal kid. I was afraid of the boogeyman outside. But this
I know
just
what you're
happened to
saying.
be that I don't know. I didn't
Right.
feel scared or nothing. I was, you expect to be scared of something that you don't recognize out in the pasture. But being a
Yeah.
kid didn't bother me as much.
I'm just trying to look here on what I actually put down on your bio because it says that you've got an award. So
I
and
did.
you'd met
I've got a
quite
few. Yeah.
yeah. So can you go through your first award then, and
Um,
sort of like
sure.
and and how you came to get it, please?
Okay. I started a radio show in 2009. It was after doing paranormal studies with um, ghosts and
Yeah,
goblins and whatnots. I began the radio show with another person, and she decided that she wanted to do her own things. She was more doing Native American type of shows.
yeah,
So, and me, I was kind of doing paranormal in all genres. I didn't
yeah,
care if it was crystal skulls
yeah.
or if they were talking about Celtic spiritualism or if they were talking about it didn't matter to me. It was all over the
No,
world. It was investigators from every walk of life on top
right,
of actors who worked in horror movies and scary movies and UFO movies. And so I was integrating all these different types of people into my show.
right.
So one day, my one of the production networks that I was going through, which was called Ghost Tales TV.com, they decided to do an awards thing. And I was like, even though I was one of the first shows he ever put on for radio, I said, I'll never win that. But then again, I don't care. As long as people are happy with the content, what's it matter, right? And
Yeah,
that's my philosophy. Well, I happened to interview a ghost hunter that was on Taps, which was the TV show that most people recognize,
yeah, chaps.
right?
Yeah, brilliant.
And I'd already met most of them at
Yeah,
different conventions and different ghost hunts. And I went to like Pennsylvania and I went to New Hampshire, and so I met them at different things.
yeah,
And so, like I was telling you, I asked them the hard questions, and trust me, they got baffled because when you're studying for real stuff, you want to know the facts. You want to know
oh
the
yeah,
truth about what they know. Anyways, I won't go into like television, but for all you know that TV, yeah, it goes by
yeah.
what the producer wants. And we'll just leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
We've got to.
Yeah,
So, I was interviewing her, and because of that, she wasn't doing interviews. There was some stigma around what she was after
yeah,
the show type of thing, and she had some issues with stigma, and people were talking negative, and she didn't do shows. So I got her to come on mine, which was a miracle in itself. And I'd already met everybody else, so it was really nice that this woman I hadn't met in person, I was able to get on my show because she was all done with the show. And so I won my first award for that. The next year, they were going to do the same award. And I wanted Radio Show of the Year. Um, don't know what addicted me to want that, but I kicked out over 1,000 shows that year just for that award. I mean, and still had quality people on. I had H.R. Mahaloff from Saw 2. He came on
Yeah,
as my because it was a paranormal show, so I was sticking with,
yeah,
frightening stuff, especially at
yeah, of
Christmas
course.
time. He came on and he had just done a movie where he was a killer and he was a Santa Claus. So he was my Santa that year. I thought out of the box when it came to that show. I interviewed Charleville Castle in Ireland when they were doing a ghost hunt.
Yeah,
So we got to travel along with the ghost hunters that were interviewing the castle. I had people, a lady that takes care of a big crystal skull named Max, very popular. She treats
yeah,
him like it's a real thing, like it's a real person. And then I talked to another gentleman and his wife who collected multiple crystal skulls, and they would go to Max to charge their skulls. I
right.
learned so much from all these unique people, Bigfoot hunters.
Yeah,
I had a guy that came on. He sang the Star Spangled Banner and did it a specific way, got on some TV shows. Then he was a big hunter chaser, but he'd do it in the nude. So as weird as that sounds, that was his thing. That was how he
right.
did it. But to me, it's all interesting, you know?
Yeah,
Cryptozoologists, I've had them on because it's neat to know about what we don't know about, past and present. I
that's
just had
right.
a guy on not too long ago that talked about he names new species. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, he's got a job forever because we're getting new species from the sky and they're going to be in trouble, you know. But yeah, that's how that all started. And then I got one for I got Radio Show of the Year a couple of years after that in a, well, because I live in New England, they did a New England paranormal event for locals and people. Well, it was international, but the people that came to the event, you know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah,
I got to do a little lecture there, and I always do the safety lecture. You know what I mean? Like, you have to.
yeah,
I don't care where you hunt and how you hunt. It don't matter if you're hunting a ghost house or if you're out in the woods looking for UFOs or if you're looking for Bigfoot. Bring a safety kit with you.
yeah.
That was my speech. And I said, and if you don't have gauze enough, bring tampons. Bring something that is absorbent to the point where you can get out of where you're at. Because people are clumsy. They're gonna trip over a stick in the woods. So, anything can happen. So
Oh
bring a
yeah,
safety kit.
oh yeah.
I had to
I've
keep
been
it
there.
simple. I
Yeah,
mean, but yeah, that's kind of how that got started. But I've had such a great time within the paranormal field that, there's going to be a lot of controversy with people, and everybody says unity, but nobody believes in it. They love to throw the word around, but they don't, they get jealous of each other. And to me, that's just silly. You know what I mean? We can learn something from each and every human being
just get
that,
on with it, and
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I learned something from you. I mean, every time I talk to you, I learn from everybody, but I'm hoping that maybe I share a little knowledge too.
You do share. Yeah, I've been listening with interest. Like before we went live, and sort of like amazing. Sort of like, and it's opened my eyes quite a lot, and the other interests we have. So did you have you been out on any specific UFO uh, like? For instance, a sighting had come your way, a report, and you'd gone out and investigated it, or did you do it by radio?
I have not, but I've done it by radio. But I have
Yeah,
so many friends that do that. And
yeah,
to me, I learned so much. every time I talk with, I don't care if I'm at that convention listening to them doing a speech, or if I am out in the field with them looking at the sky, or if I'm on the radio show with them and they're telling us their stories.
Yeah.
It's all amazing information for all of us to learn.
Mm. Oh yeah.
I even had, excuse me, I even had a question for a paranormalist. They were ghost hunter, and I said to them, I said, thinking outside the box, I said, do you think that an alien could cloak itself to look like a spirit? And what are your thoughts on that? And they, being a spiritual thought process, said, oh my gosh, I never thought of that, but it could be extremely possible. And that cloaking device could have been used on a memory of theirs through telepathic ways. And theirs just happened to be, instead of seeing a real ghost, they're seeing what illusionally is a cloaking device for maybe an alien to be able to participate. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
that, yeah, I left that guy a little bit scratching his head, maybe, because it's food for thought. You need to think outside the box. You need to not be like everybody wants you to think. You've got to be yourself. You got to always be you. And that's why I like you, because you don't let people tell you how to think. You got one brain. It works for you. And
Only just.
right, exactly.
It's only just. It's not firing on all four cylinders. I'm sure of it, but never mind. I do
That's
the
because you
best I
don't get
can
enough
with what
sleep
I've
at
got.
night. Right.
No, yeah, well, I've had
That's
no
funny.
sleep for 3 nights at the moment, but that's through pain and injury
Yeah.
and what have you. But never mind. Um,
We got to get you some stars just to look at. Put you a video player that shows the sky outside.
I've
And
done
give you
it.
something to
I
do.
told you I did it last week.
Yeah.
I did it last week, and it's done
Did you
nothing
really?
else but rain. It's,
Oh, of
I'm
course.
I'm sat on me. I'm sat there and looking on my phone now
Oh,
at
that's funny.
amazing things, but I'm thinking, well, that's rain. Looks lovely, sort of like on the security camera, and I'm sure there's some people that would say that there were more than just that. Anyway, we won't even
But I
go
have
down
a
that.
lot of beliefs in all that. I believe that when we look at, because the one thing I think that we know more about what's going on in the atmosphere and the space than we do in the ocean, to be honest. Like the telegraphic, the telescopes, I'm sorry, that they
Yeah,
use are just so incredibly, and what they're capturing is unbelievably magnificent. I
yeah.
mean, they can see Mars now, and they can see spaceships on Mars. Did you see that? It was a recent thing. I mean, anything could be all camera and edited, but I'd like to think that something went to Mars and said, "Nope, this ain't the place," because it's a desert. There's nothing there. But I don't see why not everywhere in the universe, because there's so many different stars and suns, and you know why not everywhere in the world, not the world, like, but in space, because we don't know how big space is. We don't
Yeah,
know what's,
funnily
yeah,
enough, talking about in the sea, the oceans of the world,
right.
that I've come across quite a number of UFO reports.
Hmm.
And myself, I've filmed things. Well, not things. I've filmed flying triangles coming out of the bay where I live here in Filey, and two flying triangles, side by side, coming out of the bay. I've seen things going into the bay and run for my camera, sort of like too late they'd already gone in. But there's also other occasions, and I've looked into UFO reports, and a famous one, which is at Mountains, where there was this big that said was it felt like an earthquake, something had landed, and when I looked, okay, this is what happened then. Well, let's go back and see what happened to set this all off.
Yep.
And what I found was that there was an actual naval engagement in the Irish Sea that day, where
Well,
they were basically what they were doing. They were um, throwing in the sea these depth charges to draw these craft out and basically attack them, and then
that's
sent
crazy.
fighter jets in after them. So there was a reason, sort of like why the actual flying saucer crashed. Well, more than one flying saucer, and it's
Yeah.
because these things seem to be in the oceans. And I've been talking about this now for quite some time and enlightening people to say that, we have got undersea bases,
Yep.
so
I might get
like
in
you say,
trouble,
we
but I
don't know
think it's
what's
at
under.
there's one big one at the Bermuda Triangle because everything goes missing there.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, come on. What other logical explanation could happen? To be honest, that might have been the one of the most intelligent things because, I mean, it could be like they abduct these types of things, and just happen to have us. Who's gonna go there and look if you're afraid to take a plane? You're afraid to take a boat because so many have come missing. So who's gonna research it? Nobody.
Right, hang on, I'm just looking. Somebody's
That's fine.
yeah, got some let's
But I
see.
believe that that's 100% possible because, I mean, all they got to do is understand our aquatics, which
Abstract
I'm
thinking
sure
is
they know
very
it before they
important.
get here.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it suggests to me, and I mean, I've met these things, that there's alien bases under the sea
Everywhere. Yeah.
and connected to land bases. So, I mean, like, that's a big
They're
problem.
everywhere.
That,
They're like
that's a
everywhere.
massive problem.
But then they're
Can
not all the
I get
same.
your advice on my alien encounter? From Philip from France. Well, you can ask Debbie. Yeah, like
What did
Debbie's.
he what's he asking?
I never give anybody. I can, to be quite honest, advice. I don't give people advice. I'm not in the advice business.
What was he
Um,
asking?
um, Only if it's, of course, it's okay. That's what we're here for.
Well, he wants to
Um,
know what's going on with his encounter.
he says, "Can I get advice on my alien encounter?" Well, can you
But
tell
what
us about your alien encounter,
we don't,
Philip?
yeah, we don't know who, what, when, because all right, if you folks don't know, there's a lady named Kathleen Madden. She has been writing books for years. Now she wrote a book on the species types,
Yeah,
what to kind of look for. And the book is illustrated, so you can actually physically see, not just hear like it's got a small nose and it's got big eyes. You can actually physically see the different species.
yeah,
And I met Kathleen like 3 or 4 times with Stanton Friedman. Um, and they did write a book together. I remember that. But I know that she did always do the speeches on the different species. And when people are encountering, and they are remembering their encounters, and they do see there are different types of aliens, just like there are different types of human beings, different types of, and some like animal in the animal world, some animals are cousins to other animals, but they don't look alike, like I was seeing like that alligator gar, and then it's
yeah.
related to the you know what I'm saying? So like think about it, everybody. Like there is a different species, and you might meet one that I haven't met, or Russ hasn't met. Russ wants to meet them all. right? But a lot of
No,
people,
I've not.
I was gonna
I
say,
do not
there
want to
are
meet
some.
anymore.
You may
I'm,
not. But then,
I'm,
did you hear about that recent one that was shaped like a cube? It was made of like some weird jelly, like jellyfish jelly. Um, but also had
jellyfish jelly.
arms and stuff. Did you hear about that? Now, my personal thought, I want to meet. Yeah, we all want to meet the green one that has the big eyes that we saw in that movie.
I don't think you
That
do.
we want to meet George, um, but you don't know what's gonna you meet.
The
You don't
thing
know.
is, it's different in the movies. You know, as as an
Yes,
abductee,
they're
yeah,
laughing at us.
and so you do not want to meet them. Sort of like there's a few questions that I have about people that say these things are all right, and that is, have you ever heard of the Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
look at it this way. Sort of like you could be suffering from that, and that's why you think they're okay, because
We all
it's
want Elf. Yeah, we all want
the
it to be like
brain's
Elf.
ability. It's get out of easy, right? Yeah, and sort
Yeah,
of like look for that sort of like fundamental sort of like you know thing that you've got in common, and sort of like and sort of like and it's
and
there.
yeah.
It's this bonding. It's this
Well,
bonding
they
together.
did that to us by Mork and Mindy, the show Mork and Mindy with Robin Williams. Then they did it with Alf.
Yeah,
And then they did it again with throughout our whole life, Star Trek. All right. And I trust me, guys, Trekkies are great. As far as I'm concerned, I watch Star Trek too, and but it opened our eyes to the possibilities at that even as a child. That and then of course you got stories that came out like is it Betty and Barney from New Hampshire,
yeah,
the couple that had been
yeah.
so like yeah, we're kind of programmed to want them to be super friendly,
What
and best
if you
friends, and
listen to
like
people's
ET.
encounters?
Yeah, we all want ET. We love,
Yeah, if you look at the actual encounters, people screaming, "Keep them away from me! Don't do
yeah,
that," is not something what you would call. Basically, it's like you're being attacked. You've been attacked. Sort of like probed. Somebody's looking at you medically. Sort of like wise. Which is a form of abuse. You know what I mean? Sort of like, how would anybody come across sort of like this being all love and light when
right.
you're screaming, "Oh, don't do that! Help! That hurts!" You know what I mean? It's sort of
This-
like doesn't make it
yeah,
anesthetic. Haven't you heard of anesthetic? Sort of like
pain. Well, pain variations on levels of pain. In order to like when they prick you with a needle, do you feel that? Well, yeah, you
yeah,
feel
but
it,
that's
but it
it. It
doesn't feel
stops
like you
then, doesn't
broke your
it? But
leg.
yeah,
So the levels of pain, right?
yeah,
Maybe
but it
something
usually
that you need
stops
to
if you
know,
once you've had an injection.
but maybe they don't
Basically,
have
in
pain.
cloud cuckoo land, aren't you?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
Sort of
and that
like
makes me think, like,
do what you will.
what if they don't have pain receptors? Like, because the human pain receptors are created from nerves. And you know what I'm saying?
Well,
What
this is a big
then
question. Do
and
they
so
know
they're
what
looking at
pain
us like,
is?
ooh, I'm gonna poke
Do you
this
know
guy.
what pain you're putting us through?
Yeah.
Sort of like, and what is the end game? What is the end game? I mean, why are you doing this?
Like a little boy who shoots at frogs. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Or
or
a
shoots
kid
a
with a
bird.
BB. It's like a kid with a BB gun shooting at the squirrels. They're just
Yeah,
doing it because,
because I can.
or because they're curious. Like the kid that shot shot the squirrel, goes over and he goes, well, you know what? What's inside this squirrel? I gotta check it out. You know,
Mm.
curiosity.
Yeah. But
It's
why
odd.
keep
I
on
mean,
doing
it's
it?
odd.
Why keep on all these years, 50 years of doing this? Haven't,
Mm,
if there's some kind, if they've got intelligence, you know, where does it stop? And that intelligence,
that's true.
stops
We,
doing that. And it's writing down. And oh, by the way, after we've done this procedure, and you know, it's like, do you have to keep on taking millions of people a year away?
because
You
of
know
the
what I mean?
DNA is so different.
Well, you can
Because our
take, yeah, but
DNA,
this
our
test
blood
tube,
types, and
you can take one test tube, right? Yeah, from a woman and a man, and
yeah,
you've got enough for test tube. You
are
know,
they testing to see if where you have alien
millions.
DNA?
You've got enough for millions of babies.
I mean, it wouldn't be
Well, I don't
called
know about
DNA,
but a
but
lot.
what if they're testing us to see if we have the alien DNAs? Because
But
they
they
do
know.
believe
Surely they know.
aliens walk among us as human and
Yeah, but
form
wouldn't
and
they know
form.
if they are us and they're coming back? They'd already know the answer, wouldn't they?
Right. Well, unless they dummy us down, they might have dummied us down.
Uh,
but that's only because of the way we are programming that, but they're programming our thought process.
yeah,
They
somebody's
it's
just asked me
like
a
it's
question.
like
Didn't you
this
ask me the
being
same question
distracted.
4 weeks ago, Philip? Didn't it? Somebody asked? It was out at a club. He got
Okay.
drunk. It was in the park. He woke and there was covered in ectoplasm. Is it ectoplasm? And he saw four large males, aliens, running away from him.
Okay. He's
And
This is why I was saying like the cloaking devices could be ectoplasm. In
ectoplasm,
that in that
is that,
variation
am I
of
right? Is that what he said? Can you
it
read that?
might
Yeah.
be. I mean, let me see. Yeah, I see this. And you know what? This is where I go back to that same question. Could a ghost and an alien be in the ectoplasm? Why not? It could be. I mean, it
That's
is
more
just
of a spiritual. I mean,
yeah.
that's going back to 1900s when you had when you had people. I remember you had oh what's his name now? Conan Doyle. When Conan Doyle and his wife and Houdini were looking into all this spiritualism,
Yep.
they were talking about ectoplasm coming out of people's mouths and what have you. And I've got
Yeah.
some pictures. My granddad, he were a spiritualist. I
Yep.
told you, didn't I? And so it's a different thing. But then again, do you remember in the 70s where there was this white stuff that come down out of the sky when there's been UFOs seen? And it
Yeah.
was called Angel Air. Can you remember, Filippo? Because I know that in cases in France, there were angel air, even in France.
Yeah. Well,
And you
I
don't
have
hear
to
about
agree with
them.
that guy too because that could be very possible. I like when I do that at the ghost hunter, it stumped him, but then it did not stump me because I was. I mean, when you learn about the different paranormal is a big word for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just want to think, oh, it's just ghosts, or oh, it's just UFO.
No,
It's
it's
everything.
everything.
It's everything. It's
Everything.
everything that is not the norm. And I like that guy's story. That's a
Have
good
you ever
one.
come across ectoplasm yourself?
Oh yes, and
You've
captured it
actually
on
physically
film.
seen it?
I've got stuff I could show you that were shaped like animals, shaped like people.
Yeah.
Um, but very interesting stories behind the locations. So
Yeah.
it's not just one click, it's multiple things on multiple levels. But then also investigating by using some of the old school tools. Some of this new stuff is all crazy technology to me. I'm still old school as far as I'll take the dowsing rods. I will
But
I will use my body because sometimes I've been in a Unum, well, it was a insurance company, and they worked for wafer discs for computers.
Yeah.
So everything was top secret. And I couldn't bring. I asked the night watchman wanted me to come in and do an investigation alone, and it was and they did build it on an old graveyard, so there was already like a stigma built into the place. But when I walked through the building with this night watchman, he was an old guy. He'd worked there 10 years, and he kept saying he was seeing shadows, hearing shadows, and things, and like drawers would be open when they should all be closed, and there were things that had happened that people had witnessed. And there was like well, I didn't know about this until after the tour, but as I was going through, I was explaining to him some energies I was feeling. I was telling him that I could actually see a man bent over, and it's some, the cubicles that were, they were like fake walls, and but they had them everywhere. So that this guy had a little office, this guy had a little office. Well, in one of the hallway parts, I explained to the man I could see a man bent over, and then he kind of want to walk past me. And the man said that an electrician experienced half the body of that human being walk past him. And it was really weird that everywhere I went, I said, you've got some dark energy over in that corner. I wouldn't want to work there. You know how like you get a feeling
Yeah.
you want to leave? That was the feeling I was getting in this one corner. And he said that everybody that works in that corner gets fired or quits the job or does something negative happens. Um, Long story short, at the end of the night, and this was when he was telling me, I clicked into everywhere I went because I was like, geez, I hope it didn't bore you. And I hope, I did want confirmation of anything that I was giving him for information just on a feeling. And what
Yeah.
I could see in my, sometimes, you can see things when you are in tuning. And he was just really happy that I gave him some confirmation. Um, but nothing seemed to be harmful. Does that make sense? But when you and I worked with people who are demonologists. I worked with people who are priests. I've worked with Native Americans because of the whole spiritualism behind Native Americans. And God forbid you build a house on their land, where their bodies are, you're in
Yeah.
trouble. you know so I had to learn all of that, and then of course I'm from New England, so here we go. Got to learn about the witches, got to learn about Salem. you know it
I'm
was
just
it was
looking. Just bear with us a minute.
and
What?
you just, and that's the thing, you got to learn as much as you can about everything because it can all click in different ways.
Right. So the ectoplasm was all over your face, and like wearing pearls all over your face.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No,
Okay, I
you
see what
can.
he's saying. I can show
I
him a
mean,
picture. I can show you a picture.
yeah.
Ectoplasm that I got at a location once. It was an old house, had a lot of problems all through its history. Everybody that have lived there either got bankrupt or something, got killed by the Indians or something happened. So there was a man there living there that was killing dogs, and it was just like a
Wow.
real negative place. And there's a picture of this ecto, and it's all little circles. Like
Just bear with us a
I'm
minute.
gonna share those with you, and if your audience member would like to see that, go ahead and share it with him, because you know what, we're all here to teach each other a little something.
Can I just ask Filippo, what type of aliens were there? You said the aliens seemed to be running away.
Did
What
he get
type of
any
aliens were
telepathic?
there?
Ask him if he got any telepathic feeling, embedded thought process motions.
Well, he can hear you as well, so you can ask him.
Oh. Did you hear me? And by any chance, if you could share that with us. I think it's all wonderful. And I hope it wasn't a frightening experience for you. But when I do research, I don't look for attractive spirits or aliens, or I look for whatever is whatever. Um, you can't be afraid of everything. Even I think I'm only really afraid of people. I'm not so much afraid of
Yeah,
anything that um, is naturally out there. Was here long before me.
yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
He'll be here long
Um,
after us. But got some people I'd like to haunt, but if I do that, I'll get in trouble too. So I've got to watch myself.
no,
I
how
know
can you be in
those
trouble
terrible
if we're
thoughts.
haunting people?
Yeah.
That, I'll haunt
Yeah.
you in the night. You can kill me in the day, but I'll haunt you in the night.
Yeah,
You know,
that's funny. That is too funny.
that's from a song. It's one of my favorite songs, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
And
I
you know what?
mean,
He can get back to us on that. There's no like,
yeah. Well,
and
it's
I don't want to put him on the spot. It's just interesting because of the makeup of the matter of this uh alien species slash, you know, because that's why I brought that question up all that time ago. I was like,
yeah.
I'm
He's got back
thinking,
to us, by the way. He's got back and he says,
okay,
"You know what? Just bear with me. Let me just put
no,
the
that's good. That's good.
Let me just put these on a minute because I've left my proper glasses down.
That's fine.
Um, originally think the ghosts. Originally think ghosts are spiritual people. Say they're not ghosts. Little confused. I'm confused. I was confused when you
Maybe
first.
he thinks that I'm saying that they're ghosts. I'm not saying they're ghosts. I'm saying that maybe they come across as ghosts when, because there's a lot of people that do the paranormal research on the ghosts and spiritual hauntings. Okay, so my thought was out in the field, what if it was ectoplasm like cloaking, but an alien and not a ghost? You know what I'm saying? Like what people would think is a ghost or the matter
Well,
breakdown.
the thing is, I said originally, you know, that is terminology for spiritualism.
And that's what
You
I
know,
think
I I've
too, but
I've I first came across that name, that word. Like I
yeah,
said, in the 70s, when my granddad being a spiritualist,
yep,
and some very old books and magazines showing you ectoplasm and
right,
all sorts of very strange things, you know, and that terminology is more or less, from spirit, you know, it's we're only commenting on it's your interpretation of your word
right.
ectoplasm. That's what we're basically saying. That terminology is basically going back to the early 1915 1920s. Conan Doyle and them type of people were looking into this subject,
Hmm.
and that goes back to what they were calling this stuff that came out of people ectoplasm. And we did, you know, yeah, we said about it, not having anything to do with aliens because it's not the usual, it's not the norm to talk about ectoplasm.
Right.
And but if you can't remember, you said you can't remember how you fell asleep, and like we said to you, what type of aliens were they?
And that's the thing. But I guess so if you get a chance to look at Kathleen's book, I mean,
Yeah.
it could help you understand the different types. But then again, just like they're discovering new species in the ocean every day, we could be discovering new alien life forms every
Well,
day,
I've come across
every day.
myself
You
quite
know,
a number of different aliens. Uh, in my book. I'll send you that copy of my book across, Debbie.
There was something I saw there on there's a galaxy. Some I can't remember what it is. But I just recently watched it, and I know I shouldn't be giving you half information, but it was a galaxy out there, and it has a beacon, and that beacon is making signals to get our attention. It's and it's too far for us to travel. But there was they say that this place is giving us off a sound beacon.
That's right.
Um,
I've seen it.
now,
They also said that last week that it seems like the sun seems to be falling to bits as well. There's pieces.
I think not in our lifetime. I think that the sun is dying out. I mean, it's a dying star, but
Well,
um,
this is it, yeah. But it says that it's fall. You know, in the words of these great people in the newspapers, journals, it's falling to pieces.
yeah. I mean, anything's going to kill us anyway. So, like we could just tip off our own scale, and then if Earth moves
I'm almost there.
Earth moves a quarter of an inch because of something you do, Ross. No, I'm kidding. But if the Earth moves even a quarter of an inch, we could all be dead. So I mean, and there's always they're talking about tectonic plates and all this stuff. You know, we have to pay attention to what is happening to us always. But the one message I believe that a lot of people, now I'm not saying everybody, um, is that protect the Earth, protect our Earth. We have to
Say
because
again. You just cut out on us then.
I said
Say
we
that
have
again.
to. Yeah, just protect our Earth. Um, thank God girls don't wear their hair so high anymore because there goes that hairspray. You know, girls are wearing the hair down now, which is saving a lot of money on the ozone layer. But the whole point is we protect our Earth because if we're going to be around for the next
The thing is, there's
billions,
too many conflicting reports.
yeah. Well,
It's like, it's like we've got children now telling adults, don't do this, don't do that, and
there'll be
go green,
military force on that,
go
like
green, right?
what's it
Yeah,
called?
but when you go green, it costs you more to go green to charge a car up, right? Yeah,
Jeez. Oh
by
yeah, yeah.
going green than
And
than
they use fossil
petrol.
fuels for that gas, for the propane. Like, hello,
Yeah,
the electric companies use propane.
and these are the
Propane comes
children.
from the ground.
And
Um,
these are the children that never go out.
and
They
and
never can, they don't play out anymore, or they stay in
and yeah,
on
and then
on
solar is the
iPhones,
other option. And if you
and
go
so
solar,
it's
then
unbelievable. They never go out, and they're always on the battery charged communication system, and you've got to charge it every day because it's so powerful. There's more
I'm
power now in
yeah.
these telephones than what sent man to the moon
Oh sure.
and back.
Yeah,
And they've got them, and
we've
they're
got a
telling us
computer.
don't go out, sort of
Yeah.
don't go around in your cars, but yet they get the mummies and daddies to take them to school every morning. How does that work? Eh?
It's called manipulation by the
It's called
youth,
no, better not.
spoiling that youth to the point where they just can. But that is sad, but that is the facts. Um, when they took away spanking, they took away.
Who said they took it away?
Well, they're trying. I mean, God forbid, you can't tell your kid anything, and it's mental abuse to the kid, and it's like, well, Jesus, my parents should be doing 10 to 50, for to what they did to me. I mean, hello, and my brother and my sisters, they used to wrestle and fight and punch each other out, and they're not in prison. So all I
No,
can say is, when they took away our parental abilities,
yeah.
they took that, and that's all government because they're going into martial law. They're the police don't even abide by constitutions, which is for everybody's freedoms and safeties and freedom of
Oh
speech.
yeah.
Just like you with freedom of speech. When did that constitutional era go away? I shake my head and go, oh, so you can't say things anymore and you're being told to be quiet?
you end
I
up in Facebook jail.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
You end up in Facebook jail.
That too. How do you filter freedom of speech?
Yeah.
I I get the CDC with swearing and whatnot. I get that. That's just respect.
Yeah, but the
Um,
thing is, they
but
let
I
people
don't. I
on and the
still.
people swear.
Yeah.
It just depends. I've seen people on swearing, and then all of a sudden they make excuses for them, and they say, oh well, poor little thing. You didn't really mean to. But
Sensitive.
if I went on and said it, I'd be
Yeah.
in Nick. I'd be in prison for life.
Oh, doing 20 years of plus your life. You be there long after you're dead. You'll still be there. You know? Give you a little special chair to sit in. Just move you to a window every now and then. But the whole point is, like, yeah, our
But
our our ancestors are probably spinning in their graves. They're not no longer just turning, they're spinning, going, what the heck's like, hello? I worked so hard for this generation to do what?
yeah,
To be a bunch of babies?
yeah.
Not even if we can't get this generation up and off their butts to go to work, what's that say for the shipbuilders and the military and the guys that go out and build houses and is that the last? Is this the last generation of real people to do things? Uh,
No, well, in this
that'll
country,
crash the world.
in this country, it's funny because what they're saying now is people, in the 60s, like and older, they've got to work longer because the younger ones can't do the jobs that they've done. You
No,
know
they
what I
can't
mean?
even come close to it.
They can't
They
even come
really
close to.
can't. They
But
put in
no,
60,
they're
70,
saying,
80 hours. A
why
farmer,
not train them?
yeah,
Big
a
big
guy,
question here,
yeah,
government. Why not train them?
look at a farmer's life. He's up at 4 in the morning. He's milking cows, he's feeding, he's getting the garden. I mean, he's hooking up the hose. He's
Yeah,
doing all this stuff. Okay, he's got to get this done because if he doesn't, he doesn't feed his family. His family doesn't get fed, everybody dies. And then who's gonna? I mean, who's he gonna be living for? So
yeah.
the world works the same way. You've got to get up. You've got to get going. If I mean, everybody wants their dream job, but you know what? You're not going to find it sitting on your butt,
Some people do.
wishing that it comes to you.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
people do. Sort of like privileged people. I see it now on the television all the time. This is why I don't watch television much. This is why most people are watching, YouTube and Facebook podcasts because you get more truth and more entertainment.
That's true.
More entertainment if you watch me. Sorry, but anyway. So, yeah. So basically, sort of like. What would you say? Who out of the stories and testimonies that you've heard from people in like the UFO subject, who would you say was the best story that? I don't mean people that
That's hard to define because everybody has such different experiences.
that's true
And,
though.
and the thing about their different experiences is some seem more horrific, like
Mm.
frightening horrific, and others seem more gently, almost like they found a box of
Which
kittens.
which
You know,
and which seemed to be the most horrific to you then, out
I
of
think,
everything that
I
you've
think,
heard?
well, mostly the experimental people
And who
who
would
get
that be with? Can
the
you
people
say?
who get probed and their blood drawn and yeah, that to me is more frightening because it's on the medical procedure type. And then again, that to me would be more frightening. But I think the fire in the sky, I think when I watched that movie, now, and I know it was based on a true story from a friend of mine, Travis Walton, and it was played by D.B. Sweeney. And if anybody wants to watch that movie, you will get an idea. But I do believe there was a point in the Matrix movie when they did that same scene where he comes out of the gel type cocoon and he is hooked from the neck and the head and all through his body with all these wires. And the same thing in the movie. I don't know how they managed to do that, but um,
That's
and he
right. And there was
sits,
a
yeah,
big
and he
bass
sits up, yes,
sort
and he's bald and hairless, and he looks around and he sees millions of other pods with humans in them and doing the same thing. And I think that movie was what his that's my fear on that frightened end of being, instead of like stories that, I don't know, not everybody's going to have a happy ending, but the whole
No.
point is um so many people, so many different stories, so many different types of things of interest when it comes to aliens and UFOs. The whole, it's all interesting to me. I don't think I can choose favorites, but I know what I don't want to meet is when I'm popping out of a jail and I've got tubes in and out of me and I'm looking around at other ones and I'm born too early. That
Oh yeah.
that just,
I
I
know
think,
exactly what
and
you're
I
saying.
understand that it would be considered like a preservation gel, but just take my DNA. Just steal some blood, take my skin. I don't care. Just leave the rest of the body so that I can live. That I
Yeah.
think is consciously frightening, um, but not to communication. I think that if we could communicate with aliens and do it, well, we do it better than our government. Our government just wants to shoot everybody down, but they think everything's a threat. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. How do we know? They know more about us than we know about them. We've got the internet. They can tap into our internet. Trust me. They know we're talking right now.
Oh, of
Hello,
course.
family.
There's
Hello,
no.
family. That's all I can say. I love you. Don't take me out yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, just there's so many questions, but yet we have no real. I mean, we have answers, but we don't have all the right ones, and we're never going to get them because then we'll be dead because we'll know everything. You know what I mean? Like, I figure the
Yeah.
day I know everything, I'm dead. I don't know anything. You know, I only know what I experience in life and what I watch other people's experiencing, and I get to enjoy that. But I 100% believe that there's something going on. We're not privileged to it because we're just underclassmen. The government kept everything secret for so long, but now I think we're being programmed to believe in different things, and I think it's just a diversion. It's kind of like mom's cooking over there. Your brother goes over one side to aggravate her, and you're coming up behind her to steal a piece of cookie,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm saying? Like it's a diversion, and
And somebody gets hit on the head with a wooden spoon.
yeah,
Yeah. For
yeah.
messing about in the kitchen. Yeah. It's usually me.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a diversion. Where when COVID happened, they were talking about that like it was going, like it was out of fire, but they forgot about the other stuff, that was
Oh,
going on
don't
in the
talk to me
world.
about that. Something. Don't even go
So it's
down that
one of
road.
those catch 22s where you're paying attention to this over here, but you're not paying attention to that over there.
Yeah.
And it's easier to keep that a secret. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's we're always going to be stifled. They're always going to try to tell us to stop talking, and they're always going to not believe us. Oh, no, they believe us. They just don't want others to believe us.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, we spoke about that, haven't we? Like earlier. Well, it's the last minute of the show. Last minute of the show. So, yeah. So, is there anything you'd like to tell us? Anything that you'd like to inform us about, or your last words on the subject of UFOs and aliens?
Well, I had a great time. Let me start with that. If anybody's interested in checking out my radio show, it's I do a
Yeah.
Hollywood red carpet radio. I've interviewed Russ here. Russ, you were a great guest. So much
Brilliant.
fun. And I- you know, if you guys want to follow me, I've got an IMDb. I've been in a few movies and a couple TV shows. Nothing special, guys. Don't worry. I'm still me. Um, and I just think that keep your minds open. Just keep your minds open. Don't let what the government or whoever convince you to what you don't believe is true. Because if you believe it's true, then hey, we believe it's true.
Yeah.
You know, don't let people tell you how to
Well,
think.
I'll put some links up next time when I inform you that it's actually like a TV show and not a radio
Okay,
show, and you're ready for us.
I
You know,
will.
we'll have you back on again shortly,
I
and it's been
love that.
fantastic having you on tonight's show, Debbie.
I loved
And
it. I love you guys. You're Russ. You're the coolest guy, and your audience. Thank you for the comments, questions, whatever. Really appreciate it, and I will be on there. Trust me. You'll see my face.
it sounds good. So I'll say good night to everybody. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for your comments and being part of the show. And I think tomorrow night, I think I'll be on with Les. I think me and Les are doing something objects and orbs. Great guy tomorrow night. Good night. God bless.